Hi, I'm Krista Redpath, and you are listening to Around the Big Sky in Women's Hoops, a weekly podcast brought to you by Krista Redpath Media, where we break down the game, elevate the story, and champion the female voice.
Hi, Krista. How's it going?
It's going great, Coulter.
Well, thanks so much for being here. First of all, I wanted to ask you, this is a sort of a general question. We touch on Hellgate basketball a lot because Krista's older son, Evan, is a standout player there at Hellgate. So she's at a lot of the games. It's sort of an easy entry point to talking AA hoops. We've talked so much about how the Western AA in boys basketball is so wide open right now. What's just your thought on the way that the postseason has changed now, though? Because there was divisional tournaments for a while. Now it's kind of like this one and done deal. You win, you're in. You lose, you're out. This is kind of back to how it was. Was that how it was when you were in high school? That's how it was when I was in high school too. So it kind of all leads up to like you want to have home court in that playoff game, but you just got to play well one night and boom, you're going to go to state.
Well, or you need to finish in the top two.
Totally,
the top two will go. And yeah, I mean, I didn't go my junior year in high school because of that. So I went to my sophomore year and my senior year to state tournaments.
Totally,
a little bit different. I think finances play into that. These divisional tournaments are expensive. But it certainly makes the regular season even more relevant. And there's a battle over here on the West. I mean, at this point, we could very well be in a playoff game.
Totally.
It looks like we will be in a playoff game.
Totally.
It's just competitive over here. And so, yeah, you do have to put together one game or you're not going to state.
Yeah, tough one for Hellgate in Butte the other night. But Butte, I mean, it's just, I say it every week, but it's crazy to me how there's no differentiation really between Butte, Big Sky, Hellgate, Sentinel, even probably, I mean, Helena Capital's in first place right now, but who knows what's going to happen. They've been all over the place, too. Even Helena High, who's been sort of the front runner, they had an injury, so they lost a game or two. So it's pretty crazy how packed the West is right now.
Right. I do think the East is pretty physical, too, though. So, I think they play a really physical style. But, yeah, the West has been certainly grueling, and we have the Helena schools this weekend, so it'll be a test.
That is in Helena, is that correct?
We play Helena High here in Missoula tomorrow night, and then head to Capital on Saturday.
Okay, so some good basketball coming to the Garden City tomorrow night. If you are a high school basketball fan, you should go check that out. Hellgate is very talented and very well coached, and so is Helena High. I think Helena High is very impressive. When they're at full strength, I think they're one of the top contenders. Jackson Lieberg, who just got an opportunity to go play football at Montana State, is one of the best athletes just overall in Montana. And Tevin Wetzel, for my money, man, that guy is just awesome. I love watching him shoot the basketball. He's going to stay home in Helena and play at Carroll College. He's one of those guys that I would be pounding on the table for. I think he could play at the D1 level. I know he doesn't have D1 size, but you shoot the ball like that. I mean, there's just not a lot of people that shoot the ball like him. So, anyways, fun high school hoops coming your way. I got to ask you, as our one of our resident basketball analysts, what'd you think of the Luka Doncic trade to the Lakers?
Wow,
wasn't
right? That crazy?
I mean, it blew everybody's minds.
Yeah, I was my mind was just as blown.
You're like me. You go to bed early. So I woke up the next day and I had just all these texts. I'm like, what's going on? Is something wrong? No, it was just all my buddies that stay up late that were like, did you see the trade? Oh my gosh, I can't believe Luka's going to LA.
I think it blew him away.
I think it blew him away too. I know, talk about so many different factors, but you could tell during his press conference when he was introduced to the Lakers, he at the exact same time was very excited to go to LA and be playing with LeBron, but also like terribly upset that he sort of got backdoored and had no idea that he was getting sent out of town.
Yeah, I mean, I'm passionate about my teams, Coulter.
Totally.
And obviously the Super Bowl was a snooze fest for me. So I didn't really take a lot of interest in the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel kind of the same way about the Lakers, which I call the fakers. So I can't really say that I get too worked up about anything going on in LA.
Well, the Celtics right now, if the Cavs weren't blowing the doors off of everybody in the East, would definitely be in first place, but they're not. They're in second, but they're having a great season so far. So what have you thought of the Celtics?
I've checked on them here and there. Obviously, I follow them. I'm so into college hoops right now.
Totally.
And so I kind of, it's phases for me, Coulter. It's like the NFL, college basketball, and then once that's done, we turn to the NBA.
Yeah, you and me are the same way. We are all in on Big Sky hoops right now, and then once the NCAA tournament rolls around, we're all into March Madness. And then once that's over, great. Give me the playoffs. I'll watch the NBA night in and night out. So should be fun to watch how it all goes down. But I do think it's great for the NBA to have these young teams challenging sort of, quote-unquote, the powers that be, right? I mean, the Lakers and the Celtics and some of these other power franchises are always going to carry the day. But to have the Cavs and the Thunder and some of these younger teams on the come up, certainly going to be fun. Around the Big Sky in women's hoops, we have a old friend but new sponsor for this year's version, this year's series of episodes, Laird & Cowley Law. So tell us a little bit about the firm.
Laird Cowley, a Montana law firm with offices in Missoula and Helena, where professionalism and excellence sets them apart. Their legal services are sought after by businesses and individuals all throughout Montana and the western United States. Laird Cowley is a multifaceted law firm focused on commercial litigation, personal injury, insurance litigation, professional negligence, family law, employment law, construction litigation, business law, and immigration law. That's a mouthful. From helping you plan and strategize for your future to walking you through the dispute resolution process and representing you in court, Laird Cowley is here to guide you through life's legal challenges and circumstances. Visit lairdcowley.com or call 406-541-7400 to learn more.
Really impressive website.
Very impressive.
I checked it out. It's so well organized. They have attorneys that have different specialties. All of their bios are so impressive. Really, I went on the website, and there's so many different varying levels of quality of website. This website is awesome. So check them out if you need anything in the legal world, particularly those expertises that Krista mentioned. Big Sky Conference scoreboard from last week when it comes to women's basketball. Montana 70-64 over Northern Colorado is definitely a grind for the Lady Grizz, but they got it done. We're going to come back to that because I thought that was a pivotal victory for Montana. Eastern Washington goes on the road and wins at Sac State 68-53. Idaho gets it done against Portland State. One of Portland State's better efforts, but at this point I think Chelsea Gregg's probably tired of the moral victories or we almost got to win. They lost 66-62. Again, they'd been getting beat up on a little bit, so to be close with Idaho, maybe a step, but I think Portland State probably would rather have a victory or two, especially when they're at home. And then, of course, the game of the week, one of the games of the year of this season so far, Montana State beats Northern Arizona 73-66. We'll come back to that one as well. Saturday's results, Sac State gets it done against Idaho. This is a big win. We'll come back to this one too, but 56-53 over Idaho. So maybe Sac State turning a corner a little bit. We thought they were going to be pretty good. They've struggled a little bit so far in conference play. Weber State keeps it going, 79-76 in overtime over Idaho State. So their breakthrough year continues there at Weber. Montana State completes the weekend sweep with a 65-44 win over Northern Colorado. Northern Arizona bounces back in a big way, 96-76 over Montana in Dahlberg Arena. And then Eastern Washington completes the weekend sweep with a 65-58 win at Portland State. I want to start, though, with the game that happened in Bozeman last Thursday. A lot of hype coming into this game. This was an awesome back-and-forth contest for the entire first half. Then Montana State just absolutely laid down the hammer in the beginning part of the third quarter. Other than that little stretch, it was a pretty evenly played game, but the Bobcats were able to build a double-digit lead and then hang on for a 7-point win. What'd you think of just Montana State's ability to sort of pull away there?
Well, kind of breaking down the game, when you look at the first quarter, I mean, NAU scored 22 points, and there haven't been too many teams, actually only NAU, that's put up 20 against Montana State in the first quarter. We've seen not the best basketball out of Montana State in first quarters, but absolute lockdown in 2 and 3. And that's what I saw. I saw the Bobcats come out in the second quarter, go on a 6-0 run just to start the quarter. Esmeralda Morales hits 2 big threes. Natalie Picton hits a big 3. They went in with the 1-point lead at halftime. And then they just really, Coulter, never looked back. They had a fantastic third quarter, and they were up by 12 with just under 5 minutes left in the game. And I think Montana State just really locked down that defensive pressure.
Totally.
I mean, they really did. They made it difficult for NAU to get into any kind of offensive rhythm. Feldman did hit 2 big threes to bring NAU within 7, but then you have Mara Dykstra that responds with a 3. So just it's impressive play. I mean, really what hurt NAU, the 19 turnovers, which you can credit Montana State's defense.
I mean, I thought the 3 things that really set Montana State apart and in turn sort of thwarted NAU was the 19 turnovers. Totally agree. I thought the ability of Montana State to make it really hard on Sophie Glancy. As Tricia Binford said on this show last week, if she catches it, you're dead. Like, if she catches it in the paint, she's going to beat you. She's so efficient in the post and fill in the lane, but they made it hard on her to catch the ball.
Well, and that's a really good game plan because
Yes, it
she
is.
finishes with 7 points, and that's the difference right there for NAU because they're used to Sophie Clancy getting those 2-foot shots
Yep.
or commanding her presence in that entire high to low post area, and just a fantastic job on the defensive end.
But it's a really good.
Cats.
It's a really good point. I mean, Sophie Clancy averages about 19 points
Yes.
per game. So if she scores 19, they win. And that, I mean, the 7-point difference in the spread and her getting 12 points less than what she usually averages. I mean, that is the difference in the basketball game.
She leads the league in scoring for a reason.
No doubt. And the third reason I thought was because they were so good clamping down on Glancy, not letting her get a lot of touches, it also then hurt their 3-point shooting. You could definitely tell. Taylor Feldman hit a couple. Leah Beatty struggled shooting the ball. So there was, I thought actually NAU in general didn't find the rhythm that we've seen them find so often throughout the year. And I thought those two sort of went hand in hand.
And they out-rebounded Montana State, so they had some second-chance opportunities. They just weren't able to convert. So, yes, they definitely struggled. I think Leah Beatty, yeah, she's had some shooting struggles.
Sure.
However, in visiting, I got a chance to visit with her in Missoula and the family, and, Coach Payne really encouraging her to just continue to shoot her way out of it. And
Totally.
That's one great thing about Lori Payne and her enthusiasm and continuing to encourage her shooters to shoot.
Well, that was the number one storyline for NAU was you lose that game, but then you bounce back in a big way. Around the Big Sky Women's Hoops, Krista Redpath joining me, Coulter Nuanez here on Nuanez Now, ESPN Radio. And Northern Arizona looked like a well-oiled machine that looked completely unstoppable in Missoula on Saturday. The second quarter was crazy. I had my little boy Solo. My wife was working, so we listened to the first half on the radio. And in the second quarter, I don't know if I heard Ace Sauerwein say NAU missed a shot. So then I looked at the box score. Sure enough, NAU only missed 2 shots. In the second quarter, they went 13 of 15 to really blow the game open. So if you're going to have a heartbreaker like you did on Thursday, you got to bounce back. That's what Northern Arizona did on Saturday.
Well, and they definitely did. I mean, they took advantage of Montana being on their heels on the defensive end, which has been a narrative that Montana has struggled with against these top-tier teams. And NAU is one of them. They're a team, once they get hot, they're very difficult to stop. I mean, they have so many multiple weapons. And I think the Moran sisters both played phenomenal in Missoula. They each had 11 points, but showing their agility, their athleticism, their ability to break down the defender and find the rim. Of course, Sophie Glancy back to 18 points. There's a little bit more of a difference maker there. But Taylor Feldman, number 2 in the conference for scoring, had 21 points and 5 assists. So I think they really shared the ball well. They finished with 24 assists, Coulter. So that also shows, that's a stat that Lori Payne gets behind. I want to see my players share the ball because we know we can all score. And that was as best as I've seen NAU share the ball.
96 points for the Lumberjacks, the most by a visiting opponent at Dahlberg Arena in the history of women's basketball in Missoula. So it's a pretty stunning stat.
It is. I feel conflicted because Danny Barsh didn't play. And
Totally.
She's such a huge presence on the defensive end for Montana and really missing underneath the basket. So that's a tough one. She went down against UNC. She's in a boot right now. I hope to see her get back on the court. It's just tough. Your body wears down, and Montana definitely needs her on the floor.
They definitely do. She's a catalyst for so many different things that they do. Back to Montana State and then being able to complete the weekend sweep over Northern Colorado. Now that they've moved to 12-0, their 15 straight wins are, I think, the 6th best right now in Division I women's basketball. Presumably, at least, the biggest challenges for the Cats in the regular season are behind them, with Northern Arizona now in the rear view. How do you not settle upon that, though, if you're Montana State? Tricia Binford's certainly not telling her team, hey, we got the hard ones out of the way, now we're just going to cruise. How do you, I guess, what's the process like of keeping them challenged, or what do you think of just Montana State having those behind them but still having 6 games left before they can finish this great run?
Well, I know me as a player went undefeated in conference play just one of my 4 years. And I think that's now what's on the top of their mind. Like,
100%.
hey, let's finish this out. Let's go undefeated.
Yep.
And let's do this. And so, again, not an easy feat. A 15-game win streak is nothing to sneeze at. That is a really big challenge against some nice, high-powered offensive teams in the Big Sky that have come close. Montana's come the closest.
Sure.
So they might have their hands full when the Lady Grizz come down to Bozeman next weekend.
No doubt. And that's not to say anything about the rest of the teams in the league. Certainly, Montana State has to play Idaho again. They have to play Montana again. So And they'll be challenged this weekend, certainly. I mean, going on the road, Weber State is no slouch. And, I mean, even though Idaho State is having a down year, Seton Sobolewski is going to throw the kitchen sink at Montana State, too. He would love to give them their first conference loss in Pocatello.
Well, everyone is amped up and excited to play Montana State.
That's right.
And so, but the one great thing about their when you take a look at their schedule, their last 4 games are at home.
Right.
So the Lady Grizz have to go on the road. They're the opposite.
Totally.
They finish on the road. So if you look at that conference schedule, you feel pretty good about it if you're Coach Binford.
When it comes to the Lady Grizz, though, even though they did have the lopsided loss to Northern Arizona on Saturday, I still think they're in an okay position. Obviously, Barch being out hurts them. But I thought the win Thursday, even though Northern Colorado has struggled so far in conference play, you had to have that one on Thursday. You had to. You can't get swept at home. You can't take a losing streak on the road. The difference between 5-3 under interim coach and 4-4 is huge, even though it's only one game, because it keeps you above that 500 mark. And so I thought that the Lady Grizz getting it done Thursday was big, because now the rest of it, you have a rivalry game. Who knows what can happen? You also have several other games where I think you can be right there in the mix, if not the favorite in those games. So I think right now the Lady Grizz, overall, I put themselves in at least a okay position under an interim head coach to make a run here down the stretch.
Well, I'm so impressed with a couple players that we haven't given a lot of airtime to. McCly McCall hit 5 threes in that game.
She has been out of her mind since she got put in the starting lineup a couple weeks ago.
She has. 19 points that ties her career high, and she has just looked like a different player out there from a confidence standpoint. I've watched her swagger on the court.
Yes.
I love to see it. She's just fiery, and she's getting after it. She's making great plays. Avery Waddington played 40 minutes. They have her out there. 11 points, 13 rebounds. How can you argue with that as a freshman? We talked a ton about Courtney Grossman and given her all the nods over at Eastern Washington. Well, Avery Waddington has certainly commanded her presence for this Lady Grizz team. And then we can't overlook Izzy Zingaro, 8 for 11 from the field. 21 points. She shot 75% from the floor. That's not a bad percentage.
Right.
And she came off the bench. I think, she played 24 hard-fought minutes, Coulter. They might have found a great spot for her to figure out when to put her in when the matchups work.
Yes, absolutely. Nate Harris and I have talked about this the last couple weeks. He said that there's been basically 2 huge turning points for this Lady Grizz basketball team. One is just learning how to play with each other. While I was interviewing Nate yesterday, Tyler McCly McCall was doing her own shoot-around workout for like half an hour before any of the other girls got down there. Man, can she shoot it. You can tell exactly that she's got it on lock. She was making every single shot she was taking. She has a really sweet shooting stroke. But you mentioned that she's a fiery type of player. It's MJ Bruno went through this last year, too. When you're a fiery type of player, but you're kind of new to the rotation, okay, it's hard for your teammates to get used to you. Now I think that that's just one example of them getting used to it. But I think Izzy Zingaro is the other one. When she's in the game, you got to just throw her the ball. And then you got to play off of her. I think they were hesitant to do that at first, but now I think there's real trust there. And they run sort of a different offense when she's in the game, but it seems like they've really built up that trust quite a bit. Those are just 2 examples, but I think they've learned how to play with each other a lot more.
Yeah, and there's 3 weeks left of conference play.
Right.
We will crown a champion 4 weeks today for the Big Sky Conference tournament. So all of a sudden, it just seems like it's coming in hot, Coulter, where we're at this final stretch and you want to be playing your best basketball. So if you're Coach Harris, you're excited about McCly McCall and coming on and really giving you that offense at a time where it's critical now. Wins are very critical down the stretch.
Around the Big Sky Women's Hoops, the Krista Redpath, presented by Laird Cali Law. I was thinking about this the other day. Right now, I think we have a defined top 2 teams in the league, Montana State and Northern Arizona. And those 2 teams, obviously Montana State looks like Montana State night in and night out, with their identity being led by their defense. And I think that's why they are undefeated instead of top the league. NAU, same deal. You're going to get up and down, high tempo. They shoot it. They're great offensively. Every other team in the league, though, you can sort of say, if we do this well, we're going to have a really good chance to win. If we don't do this well, and everybody has different weaknesses and stuff. But it seems like the identity is the thing that has really set these top 2 teams apart.
Oh, for sure. And I think that is something that you just really have to have. And for some teams, I think it might change and look different in February.
Right.
And I do agree with you. There's these top two teams. I mean, Montana State clearly at the top. Then there's NAU, relies heavily on the offense and that narrative. Then you have like Idaho, Weber, and Montana. To me, those three teams have shown more glimpses of putting together 4 quarters of consecutive basketball. And then you have Eastern, Sac State, Idaho State, and UNC. Just a tier where they've had glimpses, but they have not been able to consistently win. However, in that group, I will say there will be 1 or 2 spoilers that go in to Boise and put it together when it counts. And I think one of those teams actually could be Sac State.
No doubt. I was going to ask you that, so we'll come back to that because I have that exact question in the outline. Who's going to be the team that's going to maybe make a jolt and get some momentum going down the stretch? I think there's 2 primary options, so hold that thought. We'll come back to it. I love that you highlighted a couple young ladies for Lady Grizz that maybe we haven't talked about as much up to this point, because Tyler McCall certainly has been a huge impact player these last couple weeks. Isabel Zingaro, who transferred from Iowa State, she certainly has too. I know when she came here, she had a bad injury, so it took her a long time to get into physical condition to be able to go, but now she can play 25 minutes a game, and she's real deal 6'4". I mean, I was standing next to her at practice yesterday. She is several inches taller than me, so she has great size. On the Montana State side of things, though, we've talked so extensively about Esmeralda Morales, Mara Dykstra. Taylor Chiric is this great story as a Class C gal who's one of the front runners for Freshman of the Year. The one I wanted to ask you about, though, who I think hasn't got enough play, at least on this segment, this show, is KJ Martin, KJ Lamardo. She's the one that unlocks everything, right, for what Montana State does defensively, because she's so versatile.
I love that you brought that up, because I think that KJ has had her moments, and I was just, as you were saying that, I'm like, Caitlin Martin and Dylan Phillip are the 2 players that kind of hold things together. They might not get all of the accolades that Amara Dykstra, Esmeralda Morales, or even so much as, Taylor Chiric now is on everyone's radar.
No doubt.
Leading the Big Sky in steals. But it reminds me of, one player popped into my mind, Martha Kuderer. Okay, that was a role player for Montana State when they were winning. And so it's those types of players, Coulter, that really help solidify team basketball and step up when you need it. They might not be your high point scorer, but they're going to hit a 3 when it counts. They're going to get a stop. They're going to get their hands in a passing lane, create a steal. They're going to make those plays. And when I talk to Coach Binford about what KJ brings to this Montana State team, I talk with her often with calling both Bobcat Grizz games. She said, Krista, she just brings a level of poise and what it's supposed to look like. Because she's been here now. So she can show at practice, hey, this is how you're supposed to play. In games, this is what you're supposed to do. I've been here. I know it. I've been a part of a championship team. So glad you brought her up.
No doubt. It's like your Boston Celtics, right? Without Derek White. Like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown score all the points and make all the money and get all the commercials, but Derek White and Marcus Smart were the guys that unlock everything for them. I think that KJ Martin and Dylan Phillip are a great sort of analogy there.
And there's a reason why they're starters.
Totally.
Okay, so I know Coach Binford is known for her depth. She's known for, I think Addie Harris is playing great basketball right now. By the way, we haven't talked a ton about her, and so is Natalie Picton. But Coach Binford has her strategies, and there's a reason why Dylan Phillip, and she talked about not having her last year. That was a huge part of the gap that was missing with Montana State last year. But, Caitlin Martin, Dylan Phillip, and even so much of it as an Ella Johnson, they're in the starting lineup for a reason.
How about the freshmen in the league this year, though? You brought up Avery Waddington. We talk about Taylor Chiric all the time. We talk about Courtney Grossman all the time. Addison Harris is awesome. If she wasn't in the same year as these other freshmen, she might be the freshman of the year. But I just can't believe how many great impact freshmen there are in the conference this year.
Well, she had 10 points against UNC in just 13 minutes.
She's going to be really good.
You know what I really like about Addie is just her feel. To me, she seems like she has really good basketball IQ.
Yes.
Because she seems to put herself in good positions to make plays at a young age.
Yep.
And of course, I love her fiery red hair too. So, but I think that she's a good player, and I credit to Montana State for seeming to just continue to find players that elevate and come in and make an impact as freshmen.
Yeah, they have a great recruiting philosophy. There's a lot of great recruiters right now in the Big Sky Conference. That's why you're seeing so many of these awesome impact freshmen. Around the Big Sky in women's hoops, presented by Laird Cali Law. we will be back with some standings, some Big Sky Conference Player of the Week, and much, much more. Around the Big Sky and Women's Hoops, Chris Redpath in studio with us, and we are officially into the stretch run. We got 6 games left in conference play, and a month from today, we'll be crowning a champion for the Big Sky Conference in both women's and men's basketball in Boise, Idaho. Let's take a look at the standings as we enter the stretch run. Montana State keeps on winning, so they keep on sitting atop the standings. 15 in a row for the Cats. They're 12-0 right now in Big Sky Conference play, and a Big Sky Conference best ever, 22-2 in terms of their overall start. Northern Arizona, 10-2 would be really dang good if it wasn't in the year that Montana State's playing like they are right now. But they sit there in second place. They are 19-6 overall, so another 20-win season coming down the pipe for Lori Payne's crew. Idaho, even though they've had a couple stumbles lately, they still sit in third place all alone at 8-4, and that's when you get to the logjam. Weber State at 6-5, Montana at 6-6, Eastern Washington at 5-7. Sac State at 4-7, and then you get into the bottom tier. Idaho State sits at 3-8, Northern Colorado at 3-9, and Portland State is 1-10. One thing I wanted to ask you about, Krista, and this has been making the rounds a little bit because James Madison's coach has been very much harping on this. He's been critical of the net rankings. So the way the net rankings work is they put your strength of schedule in. There's quads, quad 1, quad 2, quad 3, and quad 4 in terms of the tiers of Division 1. There's about 355 teams right now playing Division 1 women's basketball. So they basically divide them up into 4 different quads. Then you get basically credit points for your records against these various quads. Well, as the complaint is that the Power 4 teams get a whole bunch of boosts because losing to anybody in the Big Ten is worth more than beating anybody that's not in the Big Ten. I don't know how much you can do, what you can really do to change that. The gripe here, though, is that Montana State right now is ranked 56th in the net. They've been between 53 and 56 the last couple weeks. They're getting dinged for winning when they don't play really highly ranked teams, but then they also beat a team like Northern Arizona this last weekend, and they don't really move up at all. And so there's a lot of thought that maybe they should be a little bit higher. You and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Big Sky is not going to be a multi-bid conference, but I do think this could be impactful in terms of seeding. And I think that's where the gripe comes in, is that right now the net rankings have Montana State should be probably around a 12 or a 13. The bracketology is saying 14 or 15 in some of the projections. And I think a lot of it just comes down to the lack of respect for the conference. What do you think of just this whole scenario?
Well, I think the quad system definitely favors the power conference teams.
Yes.
So, the quad 1 is 1 through 30, and then we got quad 2 that's like 31 through 75. And so you can see how it goes with ranking. The quad system and the NET rankings are the two, I wouldn't want to say most important tools for the NCAA selection committee to determine which teams will compete in the NCAA tournament, but they kind of are.
Right.
I do think the Big Sky Conference has always had an uphill battle. I mean, I've been involved with the Big Sky, played from 1995 to 2000, won 4 championships, and we still had the same discussion back then.
Totally.
That we're having now. I do look at Montana State and weathering, just a 15-game win streak is nothing it's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive.
But yeah, like when you start getting granular and you start looking at, that loss to Utah, even though they've only had 2 losses,
Sure.
that would have been so big for them. If they could have, just beat a team like Utah. But then you have FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, their quad 2 win. And so, yeah, and NAU is 2 of their quad 3 wins. So I think that they're there. But yeah, I mean, I can get behind it, Coulter. I can see what you're saying in terms of, being more favorable towards these teams that are the power conference teams. I do think this year is just weird in general when you have like the Big Ten with 17 teams?
17 teams, coast to coast.
18 teams.
Amazing.
And there's 18 teams in the ACC. I mean, it's just weird to have like Stanford and Cal in the ACC. There's 16 teams in the Big 12. So it gets confusing between the Big 12 and the Big 10.
No doubt. Then you get disparate schedules too. Like there's not a lot of equity because there's so many teams. everybody doesn't play everybody, and they especially don't play everybody round robin, because that'd be a 36-game conference schedule. You're not even playing a 36-game season.
And I do pay attention to the Big 12 a lot. Obviously, Jordan Sullivan coaching at Utah, and I watch that. I mean, you look at the Big 12, there's only 3 teams, Arizona State, UCF, and Houston, that have losing records.
Right.
So, I mean, there is some really good basketball at that level, but it's the continued argument of how do we bring up others and make the Big Sky, relevant. And I always go back, and I've talked about it a lot on the show, the Northern Colorado year, where they were a number 10 seeding, and they were high in net rankings, but they beat number 25 DePaul.
Right.
They beat LSU. They beat BYU. They lost to Quinnipiac. Am I saying that?
Quinnipiac.
I never say that right, but went to the went on to win the Metro Atlantic Conference that year and advance to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Those are some change agents or some instigators that propelled UNC.
Right.
Okay, but here's one other thing that I want to give nod to Montana State. Coach Binford has been relevant for the last few years. She has had her teams there.
Totally.
So when you look at, she's in her 20th season. She, the last 4 years have been strong, and you've got to look at that and think, where have they been? Where could you continue to see this team be in the conversation? It's just tough.
It's so tough. My biggest argument, I know we're just splicing hairs now, but my biggest argument is right now, James Madison's coach is the one that kind of came out and went hard at the net rankings. It's on Twitter if you want to look it up. But James Madison right now is ranked number 52 in the net. Montana State is number 56. James Madison, though, lost to NAU, and Montana State swept Northern Arizona. So I know it's only 4 spots, but guess what? 4 spots is the difference between a 13 seed and a 12 seed, a 12 seed and an 11 seed. The thing that people forget sometimes in women's basketball, too, is twofold. One, the top 12, even though there's way more parity in women's basketball than there was, say, 20 years ago when it was Gino Ariema and Pat Summitt versus everybody, and you're going to get, like, the number one, the Final Four was like the number 1 seeds every single year because those teams were so good and so stacked. It is more parity now, but still, the top 12 to 16 teams that are getting the top 4 seeds are so good. The other part, though, is to drive the interest in the game, the top 3 seeds in each region get home games.
Right.
That's an impossible task. Like we saw that with Montana State's great team with Peyton Ferris. They got to go to Washington and play in front of 10,000 people.
I know Seattle's not bad.
No,
we got thrown to like Georgia,
no, totally,
Florida.
But when you're playing on somebody's home court, like how are you going to go beat Kelsey Plum on her home court? Like that's not going to happen, right?
But Coulter, looking back to my career, I was the 16th seed my senior year after winning 4 championships and being a number 9 in the NCAA tournament just 2 years before. And we're a 16 seed because we had that 1 year that was a losing record for the Lady Grizzlies.
Sure.
Everyone got hurt. And we're thrown to Georgia.
Right.
So I'm just saying that it seems like the Big Sky makes 2 steps forward, then they have to make a step back.
It's really frustrating, too, because you see this thing on the men's side, too. Like, the thing that I've never really been able to understand is the last time a Big Sky Conference men's team won a tournament game came when Larry Krystkowiak led the 12th seeded Grizz over Nevada. That was 2006. It's still unclear to me, though, and that was a great moment in the history of the conference. It was a great moment in my time as a student at Montana. One of my best friends was on that team, so that was a cool thing for us to watch. But how did that team get a 12 seed? They finished 3rd in the Big Sky that year. I mean, they were like 12-6 in conference. It was not a dominant team whatsoever. They got really hot at the end of the year. Right. But was it just because their coach played? I mean, Larry Krystkowiak's the man. I love him. He's a great coach. But just because their coach played in the NBA, they get a higher seed. It's just really frustrating.
It is. I mean, what I do each week, Coulter, is I look at the NET rankings, I pick a couple out, and then I analyze them. One that I got hung up on this week was South Dakota State. I mean, our friends in the Summit League.
Yep.
They're number 44, okay? They're 21-3. They beat 21st ranked Creighton. They lost to number 16 Duke by 4. They beat Oregon when they were 21st in the nation. They beat Rice. They beat Oral Roberts. And they're 44th, like, in the net rankings. And I'm thinking they're 21-3. I mean, they're 3-0 in quad 2. So I'm just saying, like, you pick out a few each week and go, okay, these don't make sense.
Totally.
Then you go to a South Carolina and you're like, okay, I know why they're number 1. So, I mean, you've got your top teams that definitely clearly represent. And then there's that whole middle, like, area where I could go to bat for all of these different leagues and teams.
The part that is the most frustrating is that it's sort of like it's compounding interest because the committee would probably tell you, well, the Big Sky hasn't won a game in the tournament on the men's or women's side forever. Well, they've also never gotten a draw. Like those great Montana men's teams, led by Travis DeCure, when they had Michael Ogine and Ahmad Rory. Like, how are you going to make that team play Michigan? But then also, how are you going to make them play Michigan again?
I know.
Like, that's just stupid. Like, give them a different draw or something. Like, how are you going to have to play a team that went to the Elite Eight 2 years in a row? And I get it. It's the Big Sky. Your RPI is going to be bottom third in terms of conferences and all that sort of stuff. But if the argument is, well, these teams can't ever compete in the NCAA tournament, how are they ever going to compete if you have historically good teams that don't get great seedings? If it's just your everyday middle-of-the-road Big Sky champ that lost 10 games during the regular season and, they went 15-5 in conference and they went through the tournament and won, and that team gets a 13 or a 14 seed, okay, that is what it is. That's mid-major college basketball, period. But if you're a historically good team, like if this Montana State team wins 30 games and they don't get a 12 seed, that is going to be, I'm going to be furious about that. So, like we say, we don't root on anybody, but I hope that there's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel here if you do have a historically good team.
It does make a difference, though.
No, it does.
I mean, it
Absolutely.
really does. And so I'm rooting for them. I mean, we're all just getting behind this Montana State team. And
no doubt.
Anyone in the Big Sky. We
Totally.
want to continue to advocate and put it on the air and sharing it.
Yep.
And, just telling people about it is even more important.
And you're right, too. The last point that you made that's so good is that if you win that Utah game and you only have one loss, I mean, Utah right now is 26th in the net.
I know.
They're great. But also, it's such a tall task to win at Utah against one of the best programs in the country,
I
right?
know, but it was the year that we were a number 9 seed. We went to Western Kentucky and beat them on their home floor when they were 14th in the nation. So you do something like that, then all of a sudden everyone's ears perk up.
No doubt. One last little tidbit on this. The College Insider Mid-Major poll has Montana State at 12th again this week. So respect, certainly. But you look at that mid-major poll, the Bobcats are behind teams like Grand Canyon, Ball State, Norfolk State, Florida Gulf Coast, and Portland. Montana State has a higher net ranking than all of those teams. Like Grand Canyon's number 65 in the net, and they're number 5 in the mid-major poll. That's the thing that I just don't understand. And I don't know how much that poll gets used by the committee, but certainly there's a lot of reasons to be frustrated here. But guess what? If you're Montana State and you keep on winning and you just, let's say you got a 23 or 24 game winning streak going into the NCAA tournament, a lot of stuff's going to take care of itself. So if you're the Bobcats, you just got to keep on going. It's around the Big Sky Women's Hoops with Krista Redpath. We're up against it, so we'll come back. Usually we do our player of the week during this segment. We'll do that next. It was Esmeralda Morales, if you haven't already heard. But we'll talk about her great weekend and why she's been so awesome against Northern Arizona. And we will also look at this week's upcoming games. Around the Big Sky Women's Hoops, presented this week by Laird Cali Law. I know you know Corey Laird, one of the practicing attorneys there, pretty well.
Well, Corey was born and raised in Chester, Montana, so there you go.
Everybody from the Highlands, good people by me.
I mean, growing up on a wheat farm, he learned the importance of hard work and accountability from his amazing parents, John and Rita. Fantastic wife, Bryn, with 3 kids in the Missoula community. We're going to be hearing so much more about Spencer Laird in the next few years.
I mean, she's a fixture on our Treasure State Stars every week. I mean, she's scored like 30 points a game at Missoula Loyola, so it's hard to not mention her every single week.
And don't rule out Emmy, who is middle child, and then Jack, their son, that'll be coming into the Missoula Loyola scene. At Laird Cowley, though, Corey Laird is the firm's managing partner, and he believes that having an impact today on future generations by being passionate about advocating for his clients and community. A considerable amount of his legal work is conducted for repeat clients who have trusted him for years. This continuous satisfaction can largely be attributed to his responsiveness, expertise, and attention to detail. Because of this, many clients feel comfortable referring his services to their friends, family, and other business owners. Really important that we get a shout out to Corey Laird for supporting this show.
No doubt.
But just supporting our community and being this like steadfast leader that we can really turn to that gets behind Montana sports.
No doubt. That last name's certainly worth remembering too, because Spencer Laird's great. I know the younger daughter who's coming up.
I know.
I mean, she's already playing varsity. She's only in 8th grade. So they have some talented basketball players in that household as well. More Around the Big Sky Women's Hoops next. Keep it right here. Around the Big Sky Women's Hoops rolls on. Krista Redpath in studio with me, Colter Nuanez. Got to get to this real quick because we're a little behind here. But player of the week this week in Big Sky Women's Hoops, Esmeralda Morales. She went crazy against Northern Arizona again. How about this? After her 30-point game down in Flagstaff, she had 25 points against NAU in Bozeman. So that's 55 points, 27.5 points per game against the other best team in the league. Morales, for last week alone, averaged 19.5 points per game. So this award each week has been dominated by Northern Arizona and Montana State, basically. Sophie Glancy's got several of these. Esmeralda Morales has got several of these. And that's a testament to the top two teams in the conference. What did you think of the way Esme played last week?
Oh, I love the way she plays. So this is just her second award, which we've talked about all year. Montana State's not going to clean up on these individual awards because they just play a lot of team basketball. They don't always have one clear leader. But if you don't give it to a player like Esme after beating NAU like that and coming up with 25 points, but just her whole game plan and just the level of poise that she's brought to this team. And I have to say, Coulter, the jury was out for me on Esmeralda Morales, like how she was going to really adapt in Coach Binford's style. I mean, I was concerned. Portland State, how is that going to work? And you have someone that comes in from, within the conference.
Yep.
And she's just at every turn really impressed me with leadership. And I think that that's one thing that you come into a team like Montana State that already has some proven players. I mean, Vera Dykstra, Caitlin Martin, Dylan Phillip to some degree. I mean, it's already proven. And to be able to come in and kind of find a place and a role and a voice and be able to command your leadership. Definitely an extension of Coach Binford, which we used to say about, think about who we used to talk about all the time on this show.
Darian
White, one of our favorite players. And so, I see that out of her. And I definitely think she's been the difference maker for this Bobcat team.
No doubt. When it comes to upstart, or I guess teams that have a chance to really make some noise down the stretch, you mentioned Sac State. They had the win over Idaho. Last year, Sac State, at this exact moment in the season, Aaron Kalhoff's first season at the helm, they were completely upside down. They were completely struggling. They had lost 19 out of 20. Then they totally flipped it, and they won 4 out of 6 down the stretch, and they ended up making some noise in the conference tournament. They are off to a better start this year, but they've been one of the more disappointing teams in the league just because I think that they have good talent. But they won against Idaho. Is this a turning point for Sac State? I know they're one of the teams you think could maybe make some noise down the stretch.
It was up and down because, I obviously also want to give a nod out to Eastern Washington for getting the sweep this last weekend.
That's my choice. So
that's your sleeping team. Okay.
I just think that they have a really good coach and they have a really young team. Like, they've struggled this year for no other reason than they just lost all their great players from last year. They either graduated or transferred. They have this whole youth movement going on, but they play really hard, and Jody Gleason's a great in-game coach.
Well, and I really like Peyton Howard.
She's really good.
She's the Seattle U transfer, which was a Jody Gleason contact, actually, because that's where she came from. 5'10", just in the last 6 games, she's been in double figures 4 of those 6. So, I think Peyton Howard, Eastern Washington could be there. Sac State then turns around and beats Idaho. So I watched part of that game, and I was so impressed with J.D. Martin, who I think has been consistent for Sac State. I think that's one player that has consistently shown up. Fatu Jaite, who I've talked about multiple times, she's in a player that I've really liked. She's one of those players that can change a game. But she has 0 points against Eastern Washington and then has 11 against this win against Idaho. So it's players like that. If you can get them to play within your system, I think Sac State becomes a little dangerous. Bente Versteeg, I've liked all along. I mean, she's solid. She can really pass the ball. She's a good floor general for call-off. Lena Falk has also had her moments, and Katie Penueta, with coming back to Sac State. And then Ruby Gray's been new on the scene, and she's a good player. So, again, Sac State has these pieces. I think they could just be a team that disrupts in the tournament. And I do agree with you. I think Eastern Washington, and also we didn't talk much about Weber State. They're another one that I think could also make some noise.
Yeah, I'm just Weber's the great upstart story, and they actually might even be able to finish high enough that they could get a bye in the tournament. And then all of a sudden, if you win one game, you're in the Final Four, and that's a huge deal in a second year of a rebuild. I just think Eastern's going to have no fear going into the tournament. Like, if they keep playing better, they're just a team that can go. The thing is, you always talk about this, they rebound so well.
Oh, they do.
And so if they go to the tournament and they out-rebound a team by 10 or 15 boards, they're going to beat you, or at least they're going to put a whole bunch of pressure on you and make you fold. So it'll be interesting to see. Last one on this, I want to ask you about Idaho. Because Idaho, they lost their conference opener by 3 points in Bozeman, but they tested Montana State more than anybody has at the brick, period.
So far, we got the Lady Grizz going down
so
there.
far, for sure.
Yep.
But then Idaho ripped off 6 in a row, and they were like the surprise team in the league. But they've stumbled a little bit. They've lost 3 out of 5. They lost to Sac State this last weekend. They really struggled. Offensively, only scored 53 points. They only had scored 44 against Idaho State the weekend before. Where are we at with Idaho? Are they just coming back to earth, or what's up with the Vandals lately?
Like maybe Arthur Morera started to have a little bit of like it's worn off in this first year. No, I think that they've have met their match. Like I think that they've seen some other teams that have matched their defensive intensity. I do think Hope Hosman is a great player, and Jennifer Adlin. Those have been 2 proven players for them. And then Rosie Schweitzer's also played quite well for Idaho. I think they've just been in some battles and they've put together some good basketball for quarters. It's just they weren't able to string 4 quarters together. So they've just hit some bumps. But I do think they're still there. I mean, Jennifer Adlin is number 2 in the conference for rebounding. So I also think this is a team that rebounds the basketball. They take pretty good care of the basketball too. So no, I think they're going to be in the mix. Like I said, they're that middle tier. They could be another one. I mean, I actually put them a little bit above that middle tier.
I think that's right.
So I do think that we have clearly a few top teams, and we got Montana State, we got NAU, and I do think Idaho is lingering.
They certainly, they're going to have to finish strong, and they have a couple more prove-it games, including against.
They have a 16-7 record, so you can't sneeze at that.
And they're 8-4 in league, so
right.
And they have some winnable games coming up. They still play Idaho State. They still play Northern Colorado. They had to play the Cats in Moscow to conclude the regular season. So here's what the schedule looks like this weekend for Big Sky Women's Hoops. Tomorrow night, Sac State at Northern Colorado. Montana State's at Weber. Portland State at Northern Arizona. And Montana plays in Pocatello against Idaho State. And then on Saturday, Idaho at Eastern Washington. That's a big game, honestly, because could get some momentum for Eastern if they could win it. And Idaho could get back on track. Lady Grizz play in Ogden at Weber State. Montana State plays in Pokey. Portland State at Northern Colorado, and Sac State at Northern Arizona. We're kind of up against this, so just give me one quick thought about the Lady Grizz, one quick thought about Montana State. Lady Grizz.
Ooh, Lady Grizz. I feel like they, just have to take care of business on the road. They're going to have a battle against Weber State.
Huge game.
And I think every game here on out is going to matter for them, and they really need to try to finish in the top 6 because that first round bye is huge for them. So that's where the Lady Grizz need to focus.
I think the Lady Grizz got to sweep this weekend. I think that they need to get a sweep so they can have some positioning there in the conference, especially going into the rivalry game in Bozeman. Montana State, what do you think this week?
They just stay the course.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to have anyone get hurt. You want to just continue to play your same basketball. I don't think they really need to change anything of what they're doing. Saturday
in Pocatello, Idaho State will throw the kitchen sink at them. You know it's going to be ugly. You know it's going to be physical and rough and tumble. This Cat team seems to like that, though, so we'll see how that one plays out. But I do think that it could be a low-scoring, physical affair. But if Montana State can go blow for blow with the Bengals, they can keep this winning streak rolling. Chris Redpath, Coulter Nuanez around the Big Sky Women's Hoops. Thanks to Laird Cowley Law. Thanks to Krista for bringing her expertise. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Coulter.